next guest says NATO allies better pay up. And he's got a bill in the Senate aiming to make that happen. Welcome back to Utah Republican Senator Mike Lee. Great to have you with us tonight.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we want to take a look here. The top economies in Europe and who is actually paying up and making this commitment, because we know it's a goal to get to 2%. Germany is at 1.24, the UK at 2.1, France, Italy and Spain all still underneath and Spain really far off the 2%. How do you intend to change that?
We've got a problem because we've got only 5 of our 28 NATO allies who are actually meeting this commitment. So I've introduced legislation that would at least require us to compile a report so that we know who's doing what, so that we can follow who is taking unfair advantage of this alliance that we have been disproportionately funding for a long time.
So what would happen is the Defense Department would have to compile the information, report it to some key Senate and House committees. But then what happens? Is it just sort of a public accounting and shaming almost of trying to get them to do this? Or what happens next?
Yeah, it's mostly about the public accounting. Sure, there's a little shaming involved, but more of it is about what happens within Congress, what we do with that information. Once we have that information, I think we'll be more empowered to act.
So what do you make of the president's visit with our NATO allies? Because he took a lot of heat. A lot of them said, yeah, he was very tough in public and ruffled some feathers, but they said behind closed doors, he got a lot accomplished and he was very gregarious, and they actually enjoyed their meetings with him. But he's taken a lot of heat from the left, who says he's doing terrible things to our allies and then cozying up to Putin.
I was thrilled. Absolutely thrilled with what President Trump said to our NATO allies. They needed to hear it. This is something that should have been said many years ago, something that each of our last several presidents should have said. President Trump had the guts to say it, and I commend him for doing so.
Okay, so you have also now had a chance to meet with Judge Kavanaugh, the Supreme Court nominee, as he's making the rounds on Capitol Hill. I would imagine that you would find common ground with him. How would you describe your meeting?
It was a great meeting. We had a very lengthy discussion about a whole range of legal issues. Of course, mostly we were attempting to discuss how he coaches his daughter's basketball team, whether it's a man-to-man defense or a zone defense.
I mean, with the young ones, you just never know.
Yeah, exactly. It's an important point. But we discussed a lot of legal issues as well, and I had a great visit with him. He's a textualist. He's an originalist, which means that he's someone who's going to follow the law based on what it says, rather than trying to rewrite it.
Well, you know the attacks from the left were coming before we even had a name of the nominee. Do you see any of your Democratic colleagues softening, coming across to vote with you guys?
I see some of my Democratic colleagues as being likely to vote for him. I think there's a very good chance we'll get 2, 3, maybe 4 Democrats joining Republicans. And I think we're going to get him confirmed. I look forward to doing that.
You know, the left is very upset about him. Your Democratic colleague on the other side of the aisle, Senator Cory Booker, saying this: he has to recuse himself from any case involving the Mueller investigation that should work its way to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with this theory. I don't know why he would have to recuse himself from any such investigation any more than any other justice of the Supreme Court would have to. If he's going to make an argument like that, I think he needs to back it up. I don't think he has anything to back it up with.
You know, they're referring to this 2016 speech that he gave when he talked about he would want to be the nail in the coffin of getting rid of Morrison v. Olson, which had to do with the independent counsel statutory framework. It's different than special counsel.
Totally different.
They seem to be kind of conflating the two.
Yeah, they're conflating the two. The independent counsel was a separate system appointed by a 3-judge panel. It operated outside the executive branch of government. The special counsel, by contrast, reports to Rod Rosenstein, the Deputy Attorney General currently. And so this is a very different thing. It operates within the executive branch. He's answerable to the executive branch, whereas the independent counsel was wrong. Justice Scalia got that right in his dissent in Morrison v. Olson. He may have lost that battle, but he won the war, because at the end of the day, the independent counsel statute wasn't reviewed.
Even Justice Kagan has praised that Justice Scalia dissent. And by the way, we're out of time, lucky for you, or I would ask you to sing the song that you've written about Judge Kavanaugh to the tune of Panama.
It's a great song.
People will have to pay extra for that. Maybe we'll get that on the Twitters. Thank you, Senator. Good to have you.
Looking forward to it.